The game never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to the SDH Network, around the corner from everywhere. This is your Morning Espresso, brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. Good morning, Jason Longshore here. What a day we've got. It's the final day of the global World Cup qualifying cycle. The last day before the playoffs, the last day to lock in quite a few spots in Europe in Concacaf. Also, Asia is going to determine their participant in the Interconfederation playoff. 2 Interconfederation playoff teams will come out of Concacaf tonight. UEFA will finalize their automatic qualifiers and their playoff teams. Busy day across the world Cup qualifying map, and here on Morning Espresso. We got drama, we got history, we got heartbreak potential, massive storylines. Let's start in Europe. Let's start with Spain. Let's start on the positive side. Spain, they've been one of the most impressive teams right now in the world. Right there with England, who was unbeaten in World Cup qualifying, didn't concede a goal. Spain is in the same situation. They've scored 19. They are 30 straight unbeaten. They had a perfect European championship followed by a perfect qualifying run. They are in great shape. Luis de la Fuente, their manager, he said, "We want to remain number one in the world. There will be no gifts." They face Turkey, and Spain needs to get a result to guarantee their World Cup spot. Turkey could jump them if they win 7-0. That's not going to happen. Even if Turkey gets the win, they're not winning 7-0. So Spain's headed to the World Cup. It's all but official. Will they finish off this campaign in style? We'll find out this afternoon. Now let's go to pure chaos. Let's go to Scotland. Tonight at Hampden Park is one of those nights where a team, a fan base, they sit on the edge of history. Scotland has not been to the World Cup since 1998. If they win over Denmark tonight, they're going. It's booked. Here's the thing. Scotland have been typical Scotland in this qualifying cycle. They've looked really good at times. They've also looked really bad at times. They've looked bad in one games at times. They've tripped, they've stumbled, they've limped, they've fallen, they've gotten back up, and they're still in a position to win the group. They stole points at times when they shouldn't have. They beat Belarus twice when they didn't look good in those games. They got past Greece, but then they stumbled on over the weekend when Denmark left the door open by not beating Belarus. Scotland had about 900 chances to beat Greece, and they didn't. They fell behind, they looked terrible, and then they fought their way back into it and had chances. Just typical Scotland. History's all over this team, and it always has been. This is a team that has never gotten out of the group stage at the World Cup. They've been very, very close at times. They have lost out on goal differential at times. They've lost out in World Cup qualifying playoffs at times. They're trying to avoid that here if they can take care of business against Denmark. Steve Clark, he's maddening at times because he seems so conservative, and I feel like this team has more to give. But he has gotten Scotland back to where they are a contender, where they're competitive. They've been to back-to-back Euros. They have more in them, though, I feel like. And it's just such a fascinating situation where I don't know if Steve Clark is the one to find that. But maybe he was the right one to get them to this point. Can he get them over the line? They're going to have to be courageous tonight. Denmark have been to 5 of the last 7 World Cups. They only need a draw. They have battled illness in camp. They look like they're going to be okay in that regard, at least according to reports out of Denmark. They looked very shaky against Belarus, but the illness could have had something to do with that. Hampden Park is one of the most epic, iconic venues in the world, and Scotland needs it to live up to that tonight. They've got to take care of business. They've got to be brave. It's one of those matches that you have to watch. You have to be locked in for Scotland and Denmark this afternoon. Another one you got to be locked in for is Wales. Cardiff City Stadium is an amazing venue as well. The anthem becomes a wall of sound. It vibrates. Wales need a win over North Macedonia to secure home field advantage in the playoff semifinals in March. Lose or draw, they'll be on the road, and that could likely take them to Italy. Craig Bellamy knows this. Wales have built their modern identity where they have been a very different team in the last couple of decades. It's been these kinds of moments. It's been these kinds of nights. Can they get it done again? Home field advantage, very, very important in those playoff semifinals. We'll see if Wales can get it done to book that spot. Now, you think all that's chaotic. Let's come to Concacaf. This is just what you get out of Concacaf. Total, complete, unhinged chaos. We've seen wild days in Concacaf before, but tonight could be the wildest. And this isn't even with the US, Mexico, or Canada involved in the qualification process. There could be some conspiracy theories going on. There's going to be heavy emotions. It's going to be drama. All the games kick off at 8 o'clock. 6 games, 3 groups, 7 teams with a shot at direct qualification. Let's break it down. Group A, Suriname. They host Guatemala. Panama hosts El Salvador. Suriname and Panama are fighting directly for the lone automatic spot. The match that's really interesting is Guatemala. Guatemala's hosting Suriname. Guatemala is the wild card here. They were eliminated last week from qualification. They have history in this very situation, though. In 2006, Guatemala needed Panama to beat Trinidad and Tobago to keep their World Cup hopes alive. Panama did not. Trinidad and Tobago went through. Guatemalan fans have never forgiven Panama for it. There are some Guatemalan fans who are asking their players to lie down and let Suriname qualify, which is wild, but that's where we stand. Will they play the spoiler, or will they carry that grudge into the match? That's going to be a fun storyline to watch tonight. Maybe not so fun for Panama. If Guatemala lose to Suriname and Panama lose to El Salvador, Suriname go through. If both win, Suriname should go through, barring a wild, huge win for Panama. The other one will likely go into the Interconfederation playoff. Group B, Curacao and Jamaica. This is one of the biggest Caribbean qualifying moments ever. Match is going to be in Kingston, Jamaica. Curacao are 1 point away from becoming the smallest nation ever to reach a World Cup. Population is just over 156,000. Here's the twist in this, though. Their manager, the 78-year-old Dick Advocaat, he's managed every team in the world, seemingly. He's had to suddenly return to the Netherlands for family reasons after guiding this team through their best campaign ever. He's going to be connected with them. His assistants are in charge. He's staying in communication. The captain, Leandro Bacuna, he said, we will finish it for him. Jamaica's got emotion too, though. This is a country that is rebuilding after a recent hurricane. Steve McLaren trying to get Jamaica back to the World Cup for the first time since 1998. The office in Kingston, one of the toughest places in CONCACAF to get a result. This one is going to be heavy. This one is going to be very emotional on both sides. The other team, whichever one doesn't go through, should go into the playoff. I think they're even more likely to go into the playoff. If Panama or Suriname lose tonight, their spot in the playoff could be in jeopardy. Whoever doesn't win the automatic spot out of Group B should be basically guaranteed going through into the Interconfederation playoff. That's because Group C is even more chaotic. You've got Costa Rica playing Honduras. You've got Haiti playing Nicaragua. Peak CONCACAF. Haiti is hosting Nicaragua in Curacao. Costa Rica, they are hosting Honduras. Honduras blew their chance to lock the group up, losing to Nicaragua in the last match. Costa Rica, Honduras, and Haiti all have a chance to qualify directly. All of them need to win tonight. Only one's going to get the automatic spot, and whoever comes in second in this group because of where the points are in the matchups, it's unlikely they go into the Interconfederation playoff. Costa Rica, Honduras is a heavyweight rivalry in Central America. Decades of qualifying matches, regional tension. This one's going to be really tough. Costa Rica already has a ton of tension with Piojo Herrera not getting along with anybody right now, being asked if he's going to resign on a regular basis, getting into it with players, journalists. It's a mess right now. Jorge Luis Pinto, their legendary manager, he publicly broke down some of the tactical issues that Costa Rica is having right now. That's not helping. Haiti's in the prime spot. They get the easiest match. They should be able to take care of that and win. But the scoreboard watching in Group C is going to be very, very interesting. Let's go back to Europe for a moment. Yesterday's results: Germany obliterated Slovakia 6-0. They answered all the questions they needed to answer after a not great qualifying campaign, but they get the job done. Big Nick Voltemade continues to be the breakout story right now. He was in the third division 3 years ago. Now he's in the World Cup picture. Julian Nagelsmann says the team can now prepare, quote, with a free and open mind, unquote, heading into next year. Maybe building momentum at the right time. The Dutch might also be building momentum at the right time. They finished unbeaten, 4-0 win over Lithuania. Tiani Reindeers, Corey Gakpo, Xavi Simons, all firing. Ronald Koeman says that the internal competition inside the squad may be the best they've had in a decade. 2 European heavyweights heading into the year in good shape. I don't know if they're in my favorite tier in the World Cup. We talked about this on Soccer Over There last night, which was unhinged as usual. I feel like there's 5 teams that are in my favorite tier in the World Cup next year. And I don't have Germany or the Netherlands in that tier. Spain, as of right now, is my favorite to win. Argentina, Brazil, England, France round out the 5-team favorites tier. Germany and the Netherlands are probably the head of the second tier, which is huge. It's going to be a very wide open tournament in that sense. I think it's a small number of teams that I would put in the conversation to actually win the trophy, but it's a large number of teams that will be competing for the semifinals, if that makes sense. Plenty of time to talk about all of that. Some news off the field as we talk about the World Cup. U.S. visa acceleration. The U.S. is going to expedite visa processing for ticket holders next summer, expecting 5 to 10 million visitors from around the world for the 2026 World Cup. DoorDash became an official tournament supporter for 2026 and the Women's World Cup in 2027. They are launching a Ronaldinho digital campaign and new in-app restaurant reservation tools as part of the partnership. And Conmebol, they are talking about their qualifying setup for 2030 because it's kind of a weird one because Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay are all automatically in as hosts because there's about 27 countries hosting the 2030 World Cup, it seems like. The Confederation is looking at a tournament format, almost like a Nations League, with prize money to keep all 10 nations engaged because their format where everybody plays everybody else home and away, that's 18 games, 9 home games. That's very lucrative. Those games are sold for broadcast. They're sold for sponsorship. That's very important. So Conmebol wants to maintain that even with 3 teams being automatic qualifiers. Maybe a Nations League kind of setup is going to be what they do. U.S. men's national team, they host Uruguay tonight in Tampa. Mauricio Pochettino was in a great mood yesterday, joking with reporters, glowing about the progress of the group. Tonight, though, it's personal for him in a good way. Marcelo Bielsa, manager for Uruguay, he discovered Pochettino at 13 years old, signed him at Newell's Old Boys. He coached him for Argentina. Famous story of hearing about Pochettino and I guess not seeing him at a training session or a trial that had been arranged and showing up at Pochettino's house in the middle of the night, and he just wanted to look at his legs. He said, those are footballers' legs. And Pochettino's parents are like, what is this crazy man wanting? What does he want with our son? It's Bielsa. Oh, okay. Sure. You can go look at his legs while he sleeps. Sure. Maybe a little bit of myth, but yes, Marcelo Bielsa is a mentor for Pochettino. Is this mentor versus protege? No, I think it's a little more family, honestly. Pochettino says the admiration for Marcelo is massive, but he also talked about how Bielsa's teams will make you suffer. Now, remember what Gustavo Alfaro of Paraguay said about the U.S., how the U.S. is making teams suffer right now. Not a surprise when you know about Pochettino's admiration and respect for Bielsa. So this should be a fun one tonight. Expect rotation. Mark McKenzie, Alex Freeman, Aiden Morris, Diego Luna, Haji Wright, all possibilities to start. I know there was a little bit of a narrative about you want to see the same lineup again. The same lineup that played on Saturday night is not going to be the same lineup to start the World Cup because you're missing a lot of players who will be part of that World Cup squad. So it doesn't really mean anything to start them again and let them build momentum. That means nothing right now. You want to see how guys handle the challenge of tonight. I want to see what Pochettino does with this group. Feels like the identity's starting to take hold and feel real. It's a team that is tough to break down. It's a team that fights. It's a team that is structured. The three center backs, I think, gives it a good grounding, a good foundation to build on. I like where this U.S. team is right now. I think Pochettino's getting the most out of the parts that he has to work with. Let's see how they look against Uruguay, who didn't look great against Mexico over the weekend. A win tonight would be a very big statement for the U.S. Quick note before we move on from U.S. men's national team, reporting from The Athletic and others say that now that Portugal has booked their spot in the World Cup, the U.S. men's national team match against Portugal at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in March of 2026 is essentially done and booked. It'd be Cristiano Ronaldo's first match in the United States in nearly 12 years. I would expect announcements pretty soon on that one. There had also been reporting about the U.S. hosting Belgium in the window in March in Atlanta as well. Going to be fascinating to see if the U.S. plays 2 games in Atlanta, but it looks like the Portugal game is pretty much all but done now. Let's move to the NWSL. Denver Summit FC having a bit of an issue with their stadium construction. They're in a battle with the city council. The team says that if the $50 million stadium land package isn't approved soon, they're going to have to look elsewhere in the metro area. They need a stadium permanently by 2028. They have sold over 8,500 season tickets already. And if the city can't get this done, they could potentially lose up to $500 million in projected long-term economic impact. Look, maybe it's a little bit of political chicken, but the clock is ticking on this deal. Couple of player movement stories in MLS. Carlos Coronel, he's going to leave Red Bulls as a free agent after 180 appearances for the club. Walker Zimmerman, he is going to leave Nashville SC after a decorated run. He's going to enter free agency for the first time in his career. Let's get into the refill. Quick hits from around the world. Stories you need to know. Japan. Keisuke Honda, he says Japan can reach the semifinals or even win the World Cup in 2026. They beat Ghana and Bolivia here in this past window. Big performances for them. South Korea beat Ghana this morning. They close out 2025 in a good spot. They are going to be in pot 2, it looks like, in the World Cup draw next month. Dan Helfrich to U.S. Soccer as the new COO. He brings massive corporate leadership and a real soccer DNA coming over from Deloitte, having experience with Georgetown. Also was involved in the Next Gen College Soccer Committee. Big step for the Federation with a lot of massive growth opportunities coming up. NCAA tournament, the men's bracket came out in D1. Vermont are the number 1 seed after an undefeated season. The ACC is the conference loading the bracket, though, with 9 teams out of the ACC. I was glad to see UNC Greensboro, who I had a chance to see in the SoCon semifinals against Mercer. Even though they lost in the SoCon final, I'm glad that they got in. They deserved it. That's a really good team, UNCG. Furman, a really good team as well here out of the Southeast. Georgia Southern was a team that was on the bubble. They did not get in. Sunbelt, I think, deserved a little more respect, honestly. I think Georgia Southern should have gotten in. Neymar, he secures the Pele brand. This has been reported all over the world right now. A full $18 million purchase, and he's planning a global relaunch. That announcement could be coming tomorrow. Barcelona announcement yesterday that they are returning to the Spotify Camp Nou, limited capacity, about 45,000 seats, but they have the approval from the city council. They'll be back at their home this weekend. Crazy that this is actually finally going to happen. Norwich, they have hired Philippe Clement, They have turned to him to end a disastrous start right now, trying to steady the ship, formerly of Rangers. Mjällby, our friends in Sweden, the current champions in Sweden, they are reorganizing. Their manager is moving up to sporting director. One of their assistants is taking over as manager. Long-term stability, but moving the pieces around a little bit. And I mentioned before the wins this morning early in Asia. South Korea beating Ghana, Japan 3-0 over Bolivia. So today you got big games in Europe. Scotland and Denmark could be one of those special nights at Hampden Park. The Office in Kingston, Jamaica, going to be the site of one of the biggest games in Caribbean soccer ever, as Curacao tries to book their first spot and Jamaica tries to take it away from them. You got Group C in Concacaf, which is going to be pure liquid chaos. Make sure you're following at Soccer Down Here. Make sure you're following me at Longshoe throughout the day for live updates as everything unfolds all over the world. Tonight, it's kind of perfect timing. I'm going to be hosting Atlanta Soccer tonight on 92.9 The Game, right after Hawks basketball, probably start around 11 p.m. The games in CONCACAF will be done. We will know 42 of the 48 teams in next summer's World Cup. We will know who the playoff teams are. We will have a pretty clear picture of things for Atlanta Soccer tonight. We'll run through all of that. We'll talk about what each pot could look like as you get ready for the World Cup draw on December 5th. All the storylines tonight on AST, likely around 11 o'clock. Again, make sure you're following me at Longshoe. I'll keep you updated on when that's going to get rolling. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Morning Espresso. Yes, we're going to try to start getting Wednesday editions out for you. You've been clamoring for them, and we try on the SDH Network to be around the corner from everywhere. We try to give you what you want. So more Morning Espresso, that's the goal. We'll try to get you Wednesday editions on a regular basis now as well. We'll recap all of this stuff that we've talked about from today. We'll recap how it all plays out tomorrow. Enjoy all the soccer today. Make sure you're watching all of it, whether it's on ViX, whether it's on Paramount Plus, whether it's on the Fox family and networks. Great time today in front of the tube watching games. You can always make your way over to our friends at the Brewhouse Cafe, having Around the Corner Lager, powered by NoFo Brewing. It's going to be a fun day. We'll be back later to recap all of it. Enjoy it.